good afternoon to you and a warm welcome to the Citizens Chat Show on Civic Space TV. We are streaming on YouTube. I'm your host, Judith Atim. Always a pleasure having you join us. Today we are talking about the manifesto promises versus campaign reality. As you all know, the presidential candidates have hit the ground running. The campaign is officially upon us. It's just the first week of the campaigns. We've seen the candidates traversing different parts of the country, selling their visions to millions of Ugandans in the hope that they'll win the vote come January 2026. Today on the show, we want to dissect some of the issues that we've seen the different parties share as their vision for the country for the next 5 years. We shall be looking at the manifesto of the National Resistance Movement Party, the Forum for Democratic Change, and the National Unity Platform Party, as we also wait, of course, to see what the vision for the Alliance for National Transformation and other candidates look like. Well, joining me in the studio, I am pleased to have my distinguished usual panelists. From my immediate left, Dr. Robert Ojiambo, Head of the History Department at Kyambongo University. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Judith. Good afternoon, viewers.
Yes, we also have Dr. Sarah Bireete, Executive Director, Center for Constitutional Governance. Warm welcome to the show.
Thank you, Judith. Good afternoon, panelists and viewers.
Thank you. We also have joining us today Honorable Henry Banyenzaki, seasoned politician. Warm welcome to the show, Honorable.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Mr. Joseph Ochieno, political commentator and UBC Idelogue. Warm welcome to the show, Joseph.
Thanks for having me.
You look tired, though, today.
I'm very tired. I'm tired after 40 years, one regime, one
I
thing,
said
one
today.
manifesto.
I didn't say you look tired in 40 years. You look tired today.
Yeah, it's showing today. But
It's showing today.
Cumulative fatigue.
But it's always a pleasure to be here. And as you know, wherever we are, even when we spend sleepless nights, we try and make sure that we end up here on this day to join Ugandans and all others who watch us. Fantastic to be here.
Well, thank you very much. So I don't know how much time you've actually had to pour through the manifestos of the different parties. But of course, I'd like to hear your views. But also before I think I move to your views, I think just very briefly, for the benefit of our listeners, I think I will start by just what I have with me here is the NRM Manifesto, which is what I'll start with first. And just very briefly reading the president's message, the message from the national chairman of the ruling NRM party, who is also the presidential candidate for the same party. What are they focusing on? 7 key issues that will actually drive their manifesto or their vision. The first one is peace. The second one is development. Number 3 is wealth. Number 4, let me see, wealth is quite a lot. I think the 4th one is, jobs, which ties also to the others. Services, market, strategic security. Those are the 7 areas that the NRM campaign will actually focus on. Their manifesto is quite voluminous, 185 pages. Of course, I have to give the disclaimer. We are not going to go through every item on the 185 pages. So we'll just be giving our thoughts on some of these issues. So I'll also share with you briefly what the FDC manifesto looks like and what the NUP manifesto looks like. But just very quickly, Dr. Ojiambo, you are the scholar in this case, and I'm sure you've taken time to also go through some of these documents. And I'd like to just hear your thoughts about, let's start with, first of all, NRM, I think, and then we move gradually to the others.
Yeah, thank you so much, Judith. As you have said, the manifesto is so huge. So you pick the key areas, what I would call pointers to whatever you want to say. The NRM has been in power for close to 40 years now. And because of that, they are doing what they call in religion reincarnation. Every year they kill one manifesto and resurrect it in another form. So this year they are working on their gains. The other year it was securing the future. Now they're arguing that the future is secure and they want to protect the gains. And in that, as you have said, they are talking about 7, 8 key issues. Sometimes they repeat themselves. And because of that, if you look at it carefully, there are mainly 4 areas. They are looking at the area of peace and security. They are looking at wealthy creation. They are looking at infrastructural development. They are looking at strategic, how you can put Uganda into a strategic position, because they are saying it is an island in a turmoiled area, and they want to promote education, and more so education based on skilling. That is their emphasis. Then they talk about research and innovation. And in research and innovation, they talk about agriculture, how they are going to do their things there. They are talking about in promoting of research organization, legislation within there, because they want now to legislate to separate animal husbandry from crop science, so that when you are talking, and also when drugs, they want to separate drugs for human beings from drugs for animals, so that the National Drug Authority does not cater for both, and many other things. And of course, when the president is in the trail for campaigns, he's emphasizing 2. He further reduces them to 2. And that is his braggant idea of peace and security, then wealthy creation, removing people out of abject poverty, but emphasizing household income. Now, when you look at all these things, you, first of all, Judith and the viewers, manifestos, in my view, I look at them like oligopoly firms trying to promote themselves. I will pick an example of fuel or petrol stations. I will not mention any name. When you look at a petrol station, they provide the same services. You will not find a petrol station which sells petrol which is green. They are all selling petrol, paraffin, diesel, grease, and gas. There is nothing. But you will find each petrol station trying to show you that for me, I can provide this better for you. And therefore, when you look at the NRM manifesto, NRM is clever, has studied the mind of the people. And this has been said severally by the president. Our people are survivors. They want survivalism. And therefore, the manifesto is trying to touch that survivalism. For example, they are saying that they want to expand household income by giving people more money. And they are remaining with all the other projects are going on. Operation Wealth Creation is going on, and many others. This time they have not come with a new one, but they're expanding the parish development model. So they are promising that instead of the millions that they had given per parish, there are some areas that are going to get more money than others. And even some categories of people have been emphasized, like artisans. Artisans now have been included. Border, they will get more money, and many other people. So they have discovered that creates it is a hook. You know, an NRM deals with the citizens of Uganda like a fisherman who is using a hook, always putting a worm that can attract the fish to come, and it is hooked. And therefore, their hook. Genuinely, I want to say, on the issue of security, national security, I want to tell you NRM has done well. You can't take it for granted. They have done very well because relatively our country is secure. We are not threatened by any If you were in Congo, you would really know what I mean, where people are fighting in your country, they are using it as a battleground, and therefore your people are suffering, they are becoming refugees because you cannot secure your country. We have secured the country. But when it comes to peace, is a different matter. People normally want to mix peace and security. Security they have done very well, but peace, no. Because the majority of the Ugandans are not peaceful. Even you can just see when they are on the campaign trail, people are not free to do whatever they want because every time there is fear here, there is fear there, and personal security in Uganda is not very good. Human rights abuse is at its highest. I can say that the NRM has come up with almost the same manifesto that they have been using for the last 30 years. But they are putting in ingredients like a petrol station, you do paint, you make sure that when people come, you can clean their window screens and give them some packet of soap. But the product is service delivery. Now, when you look at issues that are concerned with the service delivery, I don't see anything very fundamental. For example, I've been crying here that the number of political offices is big. I was shocked when I saw the last record. The last record says that Uganda now, we have almost, with the new districts that are coming and many other things that are coming up, we are now close to 3 million elective offices. The jobs for the country, that is the service delivery, and I look at this from two grounds. To do service delivery, you need management and administration. And I look at management being these civil servants and the people who do the real work. That is management. Then administration, which is oversight and monitoring, is done by politicians. Now, I have always argued that look at 367,000 Ugandans being monitored by 2 million people. So, who provides the services? It's just an inconvenience, and you can see even this on our roads. You will find many vehicles that are government-oriented for politicians. You will find that even a healthy office car is being used by LC5, whom I think, in my view, LC5 is a redundant position. It does not even have anything other than budgeting for salaries. All the work is done at LC3 and below. So my view is, when you look at their strategy of improving service delivery, I don't see the service going to improve. Why? Because you don't see this thing change so that you have more people working than the people who are monitoring. I have always argued these councils and what have you, what do they do in service delivery other than arguing and being centers of corruption? So when you look at majority of these things, service delivery may not improve. Judith, as we go forward, you will see now almost every sector of government is either in strike or they are preparing to strike. As we speak now, from primary to senior 6, teachers of arts are in strike, and it has taken 1 month. When I was coming, I was hearing the Honorable Mururi Mukasa threatening teachers that they have given them 1 week. If they don't go back to office, they will have deemed to have terminated themselves. Now, Mururi Mukasa is the Minister of Public Service. He knows everything trade union. He understands more than any other person, because him and the Minister of Labor, Gender work together, and the trade union activities are under their dockets. So if they are going to provide service by threatening people, the local government, which is the one which is supposed to provide services to all the people in the country, they are in strike. They are proposing things, but I don't know whether they will accept, because even the proposals are only tackling the high echelon. So service delivery is going to continue being a problem. Then the other issue they are saying, the president is saying, is that he's going to fight corruption, and is going to use his office to fight corruption. In fact, that was the campaign yesterday in Lango, which is continuing up to today, is he has gone back to his old method of calling a person to explain where the drugs have been, and then he says, RDC, work on this. Now you look at poor RDC. How is RDC going to manage medical supplies in a hospital? Because RDC, other than going there with guns to threaten people, in the supply chain, where is he, the RDC? So corruption is another issue where he has now said they are going to work very hard. Then he has also said they are going to improve health facilities by making sure that the drugs come, and he says he's going to use his Chiekera method to make sure that people don't, because he has himself, he has accepted that drugs are not just now being stolen and sold in Uganda, that drugs from health service facilities are stolen and even taken, exported abroad. And I was wondering, if we have the security that we have, how can that happen, that drugs leave the country and go to another country? So I feel, for me, I feel, Judith, to cut the long story, when you look at the NRM manifesto and you compare what they had last year, in the last election in 2021, and you compare with the one, they have just changed, words, where it was securing the future, now is protecting the gain, and they are showing you how they have gained. But when you look at the gains generally, to show how we have gained, because we needed an analysis, the percentages are very low. And this time, UBOS has been very fair. When you look at improvements from the last 5 years in all sectors, the improvement is not big. We have 15%, 10%, and the president in the manifesto, he does not show what he promised last year and where have they reached. For example, if you are talking about roads, he is talking about roads from 1986. And he says, we have moved from this 1,000 kilometers to this 6,000 now, or 8,000. But for us now, in the real analysis of a manifesto would have been to look at the last 4 years. What have we achieved? Because the 5 year has not yet ended. But let's look at the 4 years. What have we achieved? And if we have not achieved, what are you improving on? That would be consolidating the gains, as he argues. But when you look at it carefully, quantitatively, you don't see where is the gain, and if there is no gain, how do you consolidate that gain? I think later I am going to now go in the details on health, on this, on that, and we see how far we can discuss this. But if you want to fail to understand the manifesto, you start from 1986. Sometimes he takes people even when Uganda got independence in 1962. Now that one will come very difficult.
Sarah, I'm coming to you. But before I just wanted, when Dr. Ojiambo was talking about the gains, I actually got to the page on the gains. It says our gains. So there are economic gains and social political gains. Yes. So he says under NRM, economic stability is non-negotiable, particularly low inflation, a stable exchange rate, and prudent fiscal and monetary policies. Uganda upgraded from a least developed country and will rise to be one of the most respected countries. Ugandans are wealthier. That's another gain. Poverty declined from 21.4% in 2016 to 16.1% in 2025. Income inequality has reduced.
So that is 10 years.
So jobs are back after recovering from COVID effects and will continue to increase. The cost of living has been well managed, as prices of basic utilities like sugar, fuel, soap, and salt have either remained unchanged or reduced. NRM has a track record of prudent management of price stability, which has made Uganda one of the least costly and price predictable countries. The shilling has been the most stable currency in Africa. Revenue collection has also doubled. It increased to 32 trillion in financial year 2024-25 from 17.6 trillion in 2019-2020.
Okay.
Driven by investments in industrial parks, the industrial sector continues to grow. Factories have increased to an estimated 50,000, from 37,000 something in 2019-2020. Exports are vibrant and already getting more diversified and sophisticated. Ugandans, I mean, the numbers are there. I don't want to actually bore you with the details of the numbers. Ugandans abroad continue to contribute progressively to our economy. We have increased our capacity to power our industrialization agenda.
We are planting abroad.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
diaspora, the people running out of Uganda.
Yeah, I can just give you an example.
Remittances
I can just give you an example.
is now at 1.6 billion. And then tourists have
Judith,
also
if you
renewed
just
optimism.
to help our viewers. The Ugandans working in Saudi Arabia, the statistics now shows 174,000 people are in Saudi Arabia alone, bigger than the population of Butambala district, which is 147,000 people.
So more than a district has left to go to
Yes,
the Gulf.
and the 90% are young ladies.
So poverty has also reduced because of the significant investment in key wealth creation initiatives over the past 10 years. On the socio-political gains, Ugandans are living longer and happier lives like never before. Life expectancy has improved to 68 years from 43 years in 1986. Mothers are no longer dying from childbirth-related complications like they used to. Number of children dying before their first birthday has also reduced. Malaria incidence has reduced, and
That they are no longer dying.
it has reduced. That
Oh.
they are no longer. It's not that they're no longer dying. They are, but it has reduced. Also, through NRM's UPE program, Ugandan children are going to school. National literacy rate has risen to 74% in 2024 from 43% in 1986. And so on and so on. Also, they have a long list of unfinished business, which I don't want to go into. But the unfinished business is basically also from where the gains are not as strong or as prominent. So over to you, Dr. Sarah.
You know, NRM sloganeering, if you look through the manifesto, and Dr. Jambo has taken us through, the shortest write-up in the manifesto is on democracy and governance. Yeah, just a short
About 4 or 5 lines.
Yeah. It's just one paragraph, short paragraph. And the written manifesto does not talk about corruption. So I thought that maybe, and I'm starting on a positive note, that for the first time, NRM has reduced rise in the manifesto. Because I think the framers realized that really there is nothing to write about democracy. But also they've told a lot of lies on fighting corruption for 40 years. So on write-up, they've left it out, except it is now featuring
On the
speeches.
trail, yeah.
But in the write-up, it is not there. So maybe we thank them for being honest. One, that they have nothing to deliver on democracy. Two, that they cannot fight corruption. At least the framers of the manifesto were honest.
No, they have something on page 153, but it's also small. Yeah,
Very
it is
small.
very small, yes.
So on those thematic areas, they have really realized that they've told a lot of lies over 40 years. What is the significance of a manifesto in our politics? Anybody can produce a manifesto. Even if also me now I went on ChatGPT and say, give me a speech for a fantastic manifesto for a new Uganda. I will have chap. I will have a speech. So the technocrats can write good manifestos. Like the FDC really have come up with almost the best manifesto. With an abridged version, with real issues that Ugandans would want to hear.
Quantifiable.
Yes. But even if they come to power, do we trust that they can deliver that? Given what has been happening in FDC? I think also you see that there is a mismatch between a very good manifesto and the practice of Nanda Atim as the FDC. When you go to the ANT, CEO newspaper has described their manifesto as a bold economic plan on jobs, industry, and inclusive growth. And they have really fantastic, precise, and measurable proposals.
That's ANT?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
on how to, use agriculture as a driver
Mm-hmm.
for economic transformation, on improving the value chain from the producer up to the international markets and make agriculture work. Fantastic write-up. Industrialization and job creation. You find that, Uganda's industrial base, they would want to increase it from 20% because it has remained there for a long time. And ANT wants to raise it to 30% by 2031. And with the very good proposals. When you go to infrastructure and energy reform, they also, provide fantastic proposals on high production costs, which are biggest obstacles for doing business. They want to reduce the cost of doing business by addressing major investments in road maintenance and expansion, review of neglected railway system, new investments in water transport, and promotion of affordable domestic flights to improve connectivity. By the way, Uganda is the only country without visible domestic flights. You find that, for example, going to Mbarara, road transport, if you are one person going with your car, it is more expensive to drive
Than to fly.
than to fly. But do you have connectivity?
Don't have.
No. You have to look for now personalized chartered flights. For
Very
those who are flying,
expensive.
very expensive. I think there was a businessman from Rukunjiri who was telling me he flies, I don't know with which airline, from Rukunjiri to Kampala in the morning and goes back in the evening and does business. And he does not spend on accommodation. So it would be very productive to have regularized internal flights. When you go to other airports, Dar es Salaam, you will see internal connections to Zanzibar, to Mwanza, to Arusha. They have clear domestic flights. And from the main airports. Same with Kenya, of course. Kenya has even an aeroplane for small planes. That Wilson Airport. But Uganda, you don't even know the thinking of the leadership. So ANC has this in their manifesto. So when you look at trade and investment, the ANC says Uganda export basket remains narrow, dominated by raw commodities such as coffee, gold, and fish. They pledge to diversify exports into processed and manufactured goods, supporting industries that would substitute imports. Our import-export trade does not balance at all. It's like 3 times what we import, 3 times higher, save for coffee and gold, which are topping our exports. So they have methods of tackling debt and fiscal indiscipline. Of course, this is the area where NRM has failed miserably. Issues of corruption, issues of fiscal indiscipline, failure to follow the Public Finance Management Act, including the simple items like the supplementary budgets and other things. Our public debt stands at more than 100 trillion, and the ANT calls this trend the trend of mortgaging Uganda's future. And they pledge to restore fiscal discipline by promoting renegotiated fair and expensive loans, but also reduce reliance on external borrowing, broaden the tax base by formalizing enterprises and making taxation more equitable. ANT also pledges to curb the money we lose in corruption, which is officially put at 10 trillion, but I think it's more in every year. Reforming the central bank, inclusive equitable growth, fighting corruption in the institutions, through institutions, and they have bold projections. The party pledges to raise GDP by 45%, from 45 where it is currently at 7 to 8%. You finish youth unemployment to create jobs for 60% of youth and promote SME growth in the country. Among others, they list challenges. I thought I would highlight
It's
this
fine.
since you didn't have a copy
Mm.
of the manifesto. So the challenges they target to address, one is corruption, two is the cost of doing business, and then the feasibility, the fiscal indiscipline question as the major challenges. When you scan the
FDC? Nope.
manifesto, it also promises reforms, democratic constitutional reforms to cut down the size of parliament, reforms to even FDC promises the one man, one woman representation for parliament, and then cutting down the administrative bill of the country. So you find that generally all opposition parties are proposing to reform areas where they think NRM has performed badly. The bloated administrative size of our government, the question of fiscal indiscipline and skyrocketing public debt, infrastructure. We all know that the road network in the country is really very miserable. Many ministers now do business between their home districts or districts of assignment and Kampala through freight charters. I first heard, by the way, of a public office which charters planes, including for short distance. You will be surprised. PDM, the parish development model. So I happened to travel with one of the senior officers, and he was telling me even a distance where you would drive for 2 hours. They are chartering planes from an area in Kajansi, a charter plane. So you, luxury. You have a project that is supposed to put people in the money economy of 1 million per parish. But the officers, because to charter plane for a day,
it's about 5 million.
You will help us, but I'm trying to
It's about 5 million. It's around there.
Even for a short distance, why you should wake up at 6 and drive, they were chartering planes.
And Sarah, when
they
they are moving in the plane, their vehicles will have first gone there so that they can move them around.
Now it's a double expense.
I have seen it.
So many of government officials are actually chartering planes. And because they are running away from poor roads, they are running away from bad driving, and the bad governance on our roads that they have failed to fix. So maybe to conclude, I will talk about NRM and the tenfold economy. That really, when it was launched by Minister of Finance, I agreed with the common talk of Ugandans that we really joke too much. Because
we are overly ambitious.
If you fail to fix small issues, of course it's good to dream, but you have failed to fix budget discipline, which is our biggest problem and why we cannot develop economically. You have failed to follow simple instructions in the Public Finance Management Act. You have failed to live within projected means, where our budget has no meaning, by the way. Because in the first quarter of reading of the budget, there will be 2 supplementary budgets. Now why do we waste time working on a budget? Let's run on supplementary budgets, because the budget does not hold. So you have failed to fix those simple issues. Now you come to make a joke of Ugandans about tenfold economy. Economy for who? Our income disparity gap is at 0.48 coefficient Gini. We are almost 50-50 of the haves and have-nots. And then you make a joke of the people. And I am also is talking about upper middle class, income country. I don't know. I don't think I'm in the middle class, because really I struggle to pay bills. So I don't know who is in the middle class. Does the middle class really, is it the white paper poverty? I think middle class is white paper poverty. Because some people there, when they might look at us here on the show, they say, these people maybe are okay. We are not. I am not at least speaking for
Very
myself.
true.
So who is in the middle class? The so-called lower middle class. How many people are there? And how do you say that the country will be in upper middle class economy? Upper middle class economy is Kenya, where Kenya is. You look at Kenya's economy, it is 3 times bigger than ours. You look at as much as their food, cost of food is high. But really, Kenya's economy is doing...
Majority of the people live in urban areas.
Yes. So how do you now tell Ugandans on a campaign trail? Then, but we have the economic experts here. So I rest my case.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Honorable Banyenzaki.
So meaning that before
You pinching your
meaning
nose.
that before Henry comes, let me just console Sarah that actually, fortunately, you are a middle class.
Is it?
Because by definition, you're a lawyer,
Yes.
and by definition, you're a CEO.
Yes.
What happens in your bank account?
Paper,
is
so
not-
it's white
is neither
paper
here nor there. But there you
poverty.
go.
But that's not even consoling enough. Are you consoled? It's not.
But
Because
he's happier.
at the end of the day, it is what's in the bank account that matters, really.
But he's happier at least.
You can't.
How asset rich is he?
Yes, Honorable Banyenzaki, let me come to you.
Oh,
but
thank you
also,
very much.
also you are here wearing also the hat of the party. You're a member of the ruling party. You've served in that party. So
We just swaps.
defend your manifesto. But also, I'd like you to also be as honest and critical enough on the gaps that you see therein.
I want to defend Uganda,
Yeah,
Not-
defending the...
not my party, but I want to defend Uganda. I have had my colleagues here, the manifestos. To me, I look at these manifestos as Rugambo. It is Rugambo, including the manifesto of my UPC president here.
They have.
Even
How
my
is it resolved?
sort of Rugambo. What matters and what everybody will come to implement will be the national plan. And whichever government comes now will have to go by the national development plan. And this national development plan is also bridged by the continental plan, the Africa, what do you call it?
The Africa Free Trade Area.
The African vision, the African plan.
To Agenda 2063.
Yes, the Agenda 2031. And then also plug into the global vision or the global plan, which is currently the Sustainable Development Goals. They all retort around that. And so these manifestos, let nobody deceive you that it is Rugambo, it is deceptive, and I don't want to discuss any. So I would look at the Ugandans to look at what is our problem, what is the Ugandan problem, what the Africans' problem. The problem we have is leadership. It is accountability. That's what we talk about, governance and management. And when you look at Uganda's problem, I think our problem begins, as far as I can understand, 1972, when there was a coup d'etat on Milton Obote. Kudos for you, my brother, our great leader then, Obote. And then when you had this kind of leadership crisis, that's when Uganda plunged into a deep hole. And that's when we talk about this manifesto, whatever we're talking about, what was the manifesto of Singapore? These Asian tigers, what were their manifesto? What made them to become a first world countries? It was about zero tolerance to corruption, good leadership, prudent management, and those are the issues. So unless whichever party comes, domiciles its leadership, domiciles its governance on those pillars, whatever they are talking about is trash. When you look at the manifesto of FDC, it's basically, it has downloaded the National Development Plan. NRM should not even be making a manifesto, because NRM is implementing this National Development Plan. It is what is going to implement. There will be a continuity of what is going on. And to me, these manifestos don't make sense. If I wish I would have leaders or a party that comes and say that these are our pillars of how we are going to have our leadership, actually like in the UPM of then, clean leadership, it came up as clean leadership. No, UPM. It was clean leadership and good leadership and what? Something like that. So the crisis is in leadership. Crisis of Uganda is in leadership. And whatever is happening now, whatever is going wrong, there's nothing Museveni is going to, President Museveni is going to promise the people if he doesn't cure the problem of leadership, the problem of corruption, the problem of good management and prudence, you know. So when you talk about this party, when they talk about this, how are they going to finance their manifestos? How? They are not telling us how they are going to finance their manifestos. So the issue, the problem of Uganda, the problem that we have as a nation, and this is the problem almost of Africa. If you see the countries which have emerged out of this problem in Africa, it's because they have built the pillars of good leadership, good management, zero tolerance to corruption. And that's why you have countries like Botswana being now more or less like a first world countries. You know, South Africa, which was there at one time, of course, the leadership in South Africa was not that leadership that one would desire, because at that time it was apartheid. But now when we come with this, with the leadership that's coming in, you know, it doesn't make any sense. When you go to Tanzania here, look at what they are doing. Look at the infrastructure they are developing without even going to borrow loans, anything. It's about leadership. But of course, Tanzania will also have some gaps because they are also being, you know, intoxicated by bad examples from some other neighboring countries. Yeah? Rwanda, look at what they are doing. Sarah, you are talking about this
Domestic flights.
Domestic flights. If we were progressing, we wouldn't be talking about domestic flights. We see what is Rwanda. I see it was commissioning, when it was commissioning these flying vehicles. Yes, you know. Even when I think I saw about it.
What do you mean? Cable cars?
Yes.
Cable cars, all right.
Cable car is about these real flying vehicles.
Yeah.
What are they like?
They are talking about the same thing.
No,
At least
the
for me,
cable
when
thing
you
is
talk
one thing,
about
but the one
cables,
because I saw it actually, yes.
when you talk about cables, you are
Almost,
talking.
almost
you are
like
talking-
mini drone kind of stuff.
Yes.
Real.
Yes,
Yeah.
drone.
What do you mean they fly?
Yeah. Yeah. So, and when you look
Rwanda.
even when you look at this domestic flight, by the way, let me tell you, some of these helicopters are cheaper than the vehicles we drive here.
To buy.
Yeah. What makes it so expensive is because of the policies.
Licensing.
Maintenance.
That is the policy. Because you have introduced a very unfair policy, maintenance.
Control.
You must keep your helicopter or whatever at the Entebbe International Airport or what, then the cost, the what. But these helicopters are not very expensive. The equivalent to these brand new SUVs. Fuel is more or less the same. So the question is about it all revolves around leadership, management, corruption, all that. And then of course, when you have that good leadership, when you have that good management, when you have that, you know, even our plans change. Because the plans that we are having today, our National Development Plan, if they think small, because it is those are the leaders we have. They don't inspire people to think big. So the national development plan, the plan of the country, will be influenced by the leadership that you have. But if you have the leadership, like for example, when I talked about the Singapore, those Asian tigers, because of the leadership they had, they thought big. That's why we are talking about what is happening in Rwanda. That's what's happening in Tanzania. They think the leadership think big. So for the manifesto story, that for me,
Drones.
I'm going to disappoint you. This is Rugambo. This is meaningless. It is nothing to say for all the parties. But if we are to have good leadership, clean leadership, prudent management, who will hire the right people? Because what we are talking about that capital right, our right persons that should be planning for us, that should be innovating. Those are our children who are in Saudi Arabia talking about. Our best doctors, they are not in the best Ugandan doctors are in diaspora.
Yeah.
They are not in Murago. They are not in Kabale Hospital. They are not in Murago. They are in the diaspora. Our best brains.
But now to supplement on that, the doctors in Kenya, South Africa, that Ugandan rich people go to see.
In Aga Khan.
They are Ugandan.
Yeah. Even in India, even in Europe. So whatever we are talking about to this kind of stuff.
Brain. Is what we celebrate that those remittances from this.
The engineers in London are from here. I know
for me, viewers, I think the citizens, you are being hoodwinked by these manifestos. You should demand more of good leadership. You should demand of better management. You should have to see how do we retain our brains in Uganda and use them. You know, those are the issues, the pillars of development. I think that's my take.
Thank you. I hear you. Joseph, just your quick take.
So the Economist has run away from my
We will
manifesto.
come. We shall
Manifesto.
come back. We shall
It
come
is
back to
Rugambo. It is Rugambo. So what I have said in manifesto,
It's rumor.
it is yes. So the manifesto that we should be following, and we should be having a national plan, and each party should be coming to tell us how is it going to translate this national plan. So each party should be telling us that our national development plan is like this. This is what we shall do to realize our plan, our national plan. All should be telling us on how is it going to improve on it. How is it going to improve on this national development plan? Because they are manifestos. Hey, what will Chaguranyi do with his manifesto, him himself? What? What is Nandara going to do with his manifesto?
But that's his vision.
What is he going to do with his vision? It should be a country vision.
And that is what is it, their vision they have
And the
for
country vision,
Ugandans.
and
Yes.
the country vision should be the leadership vision. And that vision should be owned by all Ugandans. And that's what they should be telling us.
But I assume that's precisely why you have a campaign season to sell that vision. And if Ugandans want to be a part of that shared vision, then they certainly give you that mandate to lead them.
That is why we have. That's why we are below sea level. I don't know what we should do. We are in a ditch because we have been hoodwinked into that rhetoric. Because we have been taken into that rhetoric. If I can say, 1972. Because in 1972, that's when we had the national development, we had a good plan, which Singapore benchmarked on it, and Singapore is now is the first world. So now, for this, we should be looking at the national vision, national plan. Let each party come and tell and say, this is the plan for the nation. This is what the plan that the nation has. And this is how I'm going to translate this national plan into reality. But if you go come and tell us, see your own story, what?
I really think when you interrogate some of the manifestos critically, you will actually see that there's an attempt. Like she was reading the ANT manifesto. When you also look at the NUP manifesto and you look at the FDC manifesto, for example, I don't want to look at
there's an
the
attempt.
incoming. There is an attempt to basically identify what the gaps are right now and how each of these parties would fix those gaps should they be given that mandate.
There is an attempt. There is an attempt of hoodwinking Ugandans by downloading the national development plan.
Honorable.
By
Honorable
downloading
is
the
saying
national plan.
The issue is the leadership crisis that we have.
Yeah.
When you look at ANT, poor ANT, even if you gave them for free, let's assume that now there is no vote, we just say pinky, ponky, ANT, go to office.
Where would they start from? The national development plan. The very civil servants we have, it is where they will not change anything. So the problem is the leadership. Even this civil service that we have, that's where the problem lies.
Only one question, and I want to tap into your experience in Parliament. During budget processes, some of the MPs, like Honorable Segona, have been pushing Semuju that the budget be aligned to the national development plan.
Yes.
But it's a struggle. So they send this budget, they sent Honorable Msasi's twice to go and bring a statement showing the alignment. So the current regime is also struggling to align the budget. So how practical?
Align, very good.
Budget with the national
Very good. Alignment of the budget to the
national.
You are just making fine tuning what I'm telling you.
Yeah, but you
because we are talking about implementing the national plan. So now the budget they bring does not speak to the national plan.
Yeah.
And why is this national budget not speaking to the national plan? Because it's a political budget.
Yes.
You see? And where does this one bring us? Leadership problem. Dishonest to the citizens. But if we had followed this national plan, then that means that this budget would be following the national plan to the letter. And that's why I'm talking about this 1972 plan, which was duplicated by Singapore. Singapore followed it to the letter. And it's now a first world. Our plans, you know it very well. They are picked by these other nations that are surrounding us, including Rwanda. Implement them to the letter. So the problem is implementation. Implementation of the plan of the country.
Thank you, Honorable. I need to move to Joseph.
You know, you taunted me at the beginning, and you thought I was not looking as smart as usual.
I didn't say smart.
But you meant smart in my face. That I was very exhausted. To tell you honestly, the truth is basically, this really is it. You know, and as my colleagues submit, and then we sort of like mini pre-conclude with Henry, he actually goes really, really deep to it. All of us are speaking the same language. Interestingly, I was going to suggest at the beginning something similar, but not to be seen to be, you know, going around these manifesto things. Sarah, you picked mine. In terms of the coloriness of the programs, the FDC one took me, but they highlight headline stuff and quite impressive. What Henry is talking about, the leadership thing, is that we hope that a post-Museveni Uganda can pick from his mini lamentations. It's not a contradiction. The underlying thing is this, that at independence, and before independence, I want to say that manifestos, these times, manifestos, just like budget rounds, what do you call it, financial rounds, budget cycles, Big ideas should be coming, but those are for stable nations. And there is no reason why, after continuity of one government for all this time, we should not have standard leaning things. Do you know what happened at independence? And that really pains me. Sometimes when I come to this program and maybe I appear boring, because I keep repeating, it's basically the point. At independence, just imagine these guys. 1962, these guys come and bang, they say it's a new nation. And they come with a 10-year
Was that a
foundation
new Uganda?
Yeah?
Was that
At independence, yeah. It's a new nation in terms of the country.
I know.
Yes. But this is a new Uganda, meaning Ugandans take over, taking charge of their country, the same
New nation.
sovereignty and our nation and our direction as Africans who are taking this. I know one of the reasons why you're asking that.
Yeah.
They put a 10-year program. And on that, systematically said year by year by year by year, regardless of which party or who is in charge. We believe that by 1968, projections, and economists do that very well, statisticians, we should have reached point X. In the unlikely event that, in the event that a new party maybe comes in 1967 or 66 or something like that, they find the clip. Your job is to justify to Judith, why you are spending less or on a particular program when the projection had been, 11% per annum or something like that. Is it because of interest rates failure, things like that? So these guys do that. And you could see them construct and building that. Do you know what happens? Big agenda, 67, 68. Do you know what? The idea of a move to the left ideological. We are moving this nation in this direction because we believe we built consolidation, founded that this is what we are as economies. But what are the bottlenecks? Part of the bottlenecks are continuation of foreign companies. Hence, part of the Common Man's Charter program is to say, look, we shall renationalize some of the companies, take ownership of mining, possibly tax foreign companies that come to do funny businesses for reasons A, B, C, D. Big thinking, big idea. In part, I hope that is some of the things that Henry is talking about. But then also you do it like that by 1972, if it were the case, that you carry out a review. Interestingly, in between Idi Amin, we started with the same program again in 1981. That's why Dr. Ojiambo had me talk about this UPE thing. Imagine this guy saying, UPE, which was supposed to start in 1972, these guys project that we can afford universal primary education in 10 years. Now they couldn't, and they didn't, of course, because of interruptions 1 year later. In 1981, what do? They build onto that. They say, we planned this, it was interrupted. So from 1981, because of 9 years of Idi Amin and where we are at the priorities, we shall start universal primary education by 1991. What it says is that by 1984, because the economy did better than expected, including the OECD guys advised that you can start this actually by 1987 because you're quite impressed. I mean, it was quite impressive. What it says, no. He actually tells me this, that Joe, I said, no, we want to stick to our program. Why? Because we knew what we wanted, build on the third world schools and things like that, build on our economies, open up new schools, open up facilities for teachers, expand our economies, and make sure that by 1991, when we start universal primary education, we have the classrooms, we've got the teachers, we've got the facilities, we can afford to pay them without compromising standard. Big idea, the leadership kind of stuff. That is by and large what is lacking. And it's not a partisan thing at all. And so, even when I was looking at through these, traditionally in normalized states and situations, you then can bring in a little bit of ideology, that, okay, the FDC possibly, is it a right-leaning political party? I don't know what they are. That we believe maybe in a smaller taxation, so maybe the NUP guys want to outspend them. You want to outspend them. How much are you going to spend? Where are you going to get the money on the basis of economic growth, things like that. That debate takes place. And at that stage, if that is part of an element of your summarized manifesto, the citizens begin to get slightly more. But at the moment where we are, unfortunately, Henry, please forgive the political parties that are doing these things. We are in a situation in which people are basically just trying to woo some kind of basic girl. But your important point, though, is that we need to be able to reach a stage in which we're able to claim a genuine nation state. And whoever does that that governor, that new leader, will really have to be a post-Museveni leader. I don't see Mr. Museveni turning around to do it.
As you are talking, I want
yes.
somebody to tell me and advise me and tell me whether China has a manifesto. Whether China is implementing a manifesto or they are implementing a plan.
They're implementing a plan. Even Japan.
Exactly.
The most technologically grown country.
A plan. No, they talk to my point.
No, we understand. And I said, could easily be mixing. It can sort of be confusing, but we get the foundation. So all of us agreed, and we get your point. But the point is the foundation needs to be set. And I think part of what Judith is saying, how do we reach there? At the moment, people are basically trying to say that me, I can do it, me, I can do it, me, I can do it. And I'm trying to say, in brief, because I know we're going around it that well, it's unlikely that this foundation is going to be built in the next election, unless Museveni loses it.
And I think even America, it is a plan. Except when they are now campaigning, it's about policies. They are talking about policies, not manifestos.
But I assume the policy issues and questions are embedded within the manifestos. When people are talking about employment or unemployment, creating jobs, these are policy issues.
Judith.
When people are talking about taxation, revenue collection, these are policy matters.
Judith,
when people health service delivery, these are policy. They are policy issues embedded within.
Judith, there is a difference between the wish in terms of policy, in terms of projections, what you wish to do. But let's now just simplify the things and go basic.
We need to wrap up and take a break, but
yes.
Just in 3 minutes.
Just to go basic. If we were to take the NRM manifesto very serious, and we just look at just infrastructure, and don't even go to complicated things, standard gauge railway, which have failed to materialize, you just talk about roads. What is the problem in Uganda that there is no year that our major highways are not broken in any part of the if you want, you follow the Mubende Road, you will find it is broken. When you follow the Mbarara Road, you reach Masaka, there is a broken bridge there. When you follow Jinja, you find now the stretch of Mabira to Jinja is broken, and then later when you follow Gulu, Karuma is down. So what is the problem? One time, I don't know whether that time Banyenzaki, the Honorable, was in Parliament, the Infrastructural Committee of Parliament went to Ghana for a benchmark. And one of the things they found fantastic in Ghana was the road network. So they asked, how old are these roads? And the majority of the roads, on average, were 50 years. The roads in Ghana were 50 years old. They were constructed 50 years ago. They only just do this normal maintenance, not this rehabilitation. And they later came here, and I was watching. They presented why the roads there are that way. Is because of the quality of the contractors, the monitoring system in the country, and how much money they put there. So what would be the problem, Judith? We want to put only one road per year at that level of Ghana. Let's leave all the other roads. Let's just make sure we can start with the one from Kampala to Katuna for our own interests, because that's where the vehicles go, very many during Christmas time. So we say that we put that. That one I will understand when you are telling me that you are consolidating on your gain. But where you are proposing new roads, and almost 70% of the roads which are there are already broken. So which gain are you talking about? So the plan, what type of roads do we want to have in the country? We should adopt that we want to have this type of roads, and we go on that. You have heard in every manifesto on infrastructure development. You can read all the manifestos for the last 20 years. In every manifesto, one of the things when we are talking about infrastructure is standard gauge railway. We even had to sign things with Kenya. We tried to sign with Tanzania. We failed. We signed with the...
Yes.
Yes.
Or East African presidents.
Yes, we have signed. In fact, we have even signed.
But for us, where
But
we have the whole is where we remain.
We have never seen a meter of standard gauge railway. And we are still
I don't know
here
what they
listening
launched
to
today, still
manifestos.
there.
So me, my view is I am also trying to say that these manifestos, and as I described earlier, are just like these advertisement things on petrol stations. But you don't see, if you, for me, by the way, I don't know whether I am wrong, but for me, I don't believe that this petrol station gives better fuel than the other one, because I've been observing carefully. They look like they have the same suppliers.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Ojiambo. It's time for us to take a break. But also, so far, the debate has shifted to have or not to have a manifesto. That seems to be the question here right now. And we will delve into that a little more. As a voter, as a citizen out there, how do you or how do our citizens relate? Do they even understand what these manifestos are? Do they matter to them? And if they don't matter, what does this then mean to the quality of leaders that they get? And how then can they hold their leaders accountable for the promises made if they're not even part of the promises or even not interested in the promises that are being sold to them?
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create and publish digital media or to access and use computers, other electronic devices and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
Welcome back from the break, and we're glad that you're still with us here on the Citizens Chat Show on Civic Space TV. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel, but also be a part of the conversation. Have your say in the comment section. Let us know what you think. We're discussing manifesto promises versus campaign reality. At what point do people actually relate, or do they even relate as voters, to the manifestos or visions that these presidential candidates are selling to them? What does it mean to an ordinary voter out there? Or what exactly sways voters to choose a particular candidate? And as Dr. Honorable Banyenzaki was saying, the manifestos more or less don't matter? Is that in a sense what you were saying? Like there's no need, it's a waste of time pretty much. So then what are voters then left with if the manifestos do not matter? What ideally shapes the choices that a voter makes out there?
Yeah, you see, our voters, as we have always said on this show, is that they have not yet understood the game of election. In most cases now, they think this is the time to reap from the givers, and this is the time to get their share. So many people are not even listening to those things, manifestos, because what they do when they are going to air out those manifestos, they bring an artist, he plays music, then after artist, there is somebody who is going to cater for transport, somebody who is going to cater for some drinks and many things. So that's why you see that people reach there and it is just a pass-through. And when the candidate is speaking, there is a lot of hallucinations and what the Swahili call vigelegele, people chanting around. And when you ask, for example, why people are going to support a certain candidate, none of them is talking about what the candidate is standing for, but they like him. In this case, there are no she's, they just like him. And I want to tell you, like the sun comes from the east and lands in the west, I already predicted this is going to be a two-horse race. Those who want the establishment to continue and those who want the establishment to change. So they look at the other 7 candidates and see who can be the one who can challenge this government. And they choose that person and they move with him. They may not understand what he's standing for. Of course, what people want generally, they want to hear something change. They want change because things are not fine. Things are not fine in education. Things are not fine in health. Things are not fine in economy. Things are not fine in public transport. Things are not fine even in churches. So at the end of the day, people want some change. And they are looking for an opportunity of a person who can create some change. Of course, the president, who is a president candidate, convinces them that he's going to continue, but also change. And sometimes some they are legitimate to remain there. Others feel no, this one, even if he speaks 1 million things, he will never do anything. So they want change. Look at the time. Look at the time of listening to these things. Somebody is moving through 3 districts. Does he have time? For example, have you heard any rally where somebody speaks and after speaking, people ask questions, they ask clarifications? No. It is just a moment. Like now, my friend Chagulanyi, he has been put in a very tight situation. I don't know how he's planning for it. That he's moving from one village to another, which is 7 kilometers. They divert him to go through 40 kilometers. So that by the time he reaches where his main rally is supposed to be, he's close to 6. And you know the law says, after 6, you are not supposed to. And they are really looking for him. If he can campaign after 6, you will see. Then the roads where they are passing, I looked at him yesterday. By the time you reach the rally where you are going to say whatever you have even forgotten what you are going to say. So when people are chanting, they energize you from the trauma that you have been in traveling, and you just join them in chanting. Then the president, of course, for him, he has developed a method of promising goodies. He goes to every, like yesterday, he was in these districts which used to, he was in Amoratar, which used to be a county. So he was talking about restocking, and he promised them that every family which was affected by LRA, which is 100% in Lango, almost in some areas, is going to get 5 cows. Now I said, wait a minute. We had even a program in this country, the restocking program, which was a government program that started immediately after the raids by the Karamojong. There was a restocking program. Somebody would need to ask, what happened to that program? Recently, the people of Teso were demanding for restocking. And they had started restocking there. There was a corruption tendency, and the whole thing was stopped. Now, the same thing is being told to the people of Lango right now, that they are going to start a restocking program, and they clap. So for me, who looks at things a little bit critically, is the president telling the truth? And if they are going to restock, using which budget? I looked at the budget.
No budget.
I looked at the budget. I looked at the budget for which we are running. By the way, we are just in the second quarter of the 205-206 budget. I looked through. I said, where are they going to get this money for restocking? And somebody told me that there is already a supplementary being prepared, which will be ready in mid-November, and by November it will be there. So I think the local people, and sometimes we want to take them that they're stupid. The local people, I normally look at them like you are our children at home. If you promise a child that I am going to buy for you a suit on Christmas, he runs very fast and checks Christmas is on which day? 25th. Which will, so start counting down. When that Christmas time reach and you don't buy that cloth, whether the kid asks for it or keeps quiet, you know that you have, in your parenthood, you have deducted
So in short,
20%.
So in short, doctor, you are saying what is being delivered and promised and being given is the downloading of the national budget.
Yes.
Which is what I was saying.
So my view is that the local people are disappointed. They have been promised things. For example, the monitor today and yesterday was helping us to understand the promises that the president made in 2021. And they looked at roads, they looked at health centers, they looked at the schools that were promised, and they were moving from district to district. And the success level is not more than 15%. Roads, a road can be read in every budget for the next 5 years, and it will never be constructed. I will give you an example. There is a road which begins from Goma sub-county, which passes through Kasai to Kalaji. I have checked that road in every budget.
Which area is that?
From Goma sub-county. When you are going to Seta, you see that road going to Bukerere, it goes up to Kalaji. That road it is put in the budget. Some of us have been very hopeful that it will come until we have given up. We have given up that road will never come.
That's normal.
So, but if it is real promise, because when you promise something like a road, we assume that is based on the next plan. As I finish on this matter of the citizens, so the citizen has now said, what this person who are not trustworthy, if he can give me some 5,000 and I go and take my alcohol, I stop from there. Unfortunately, in the long run, that is a big problem. And that's why I've been talking about citizen civic education. But this citizen civic education, sometimes we argue here thinking that those people don't know. So I test my students. My students know what is good for them and how they can get those good things. But they tell you, are we going to achieve that really with this kind of people? So for us, if they give us something and organize for us a do and we dance, we go with that because that's what we have seen. So how do you remove these people from this hopelessness? I think the only way we can remove these people from this kind of hopelessness, I would want to agree with we just pray that a person like Magufuli would come and change the dichotomy of leaders and promise this, do it. Like Magufuli went to the university, promised that I'm going to construct for you a hall, 8 months it is there. Everybody started believing.
But Dr. Ojiambo, you can't be a passive actor in the affairs that matter so much to you. I think that's just wishful thinking to say, let's pray that someone like Magufuli.
But we
we
already have somebody like Magufuli.
Who is that?
Or the good side of Magufuli. Mugisha Muntu with his
Mugisha Muntu.
principles.
Oh, right.
So let's pray that Mugisha Muntu gets his support and we move on with him. Because for me, right now, the way I look at things,
so again, pray that he gets support.
It's going to take him a lot of time.
Well, thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, I want to reflect on two things. One is still that short paragraph of
democracy and governance.
On democracy and governance. And there's one sentence where the NRM says that they are democratic credentials. Unquestionable.
It's the first sentence.
And then they link it to the people connecting to Dr. Jambo's submission. Democracy requires 4 essential things to exist. The main one is active citizenry. Citizens who understand their roles and duties, and as well as those of their leaders, and are ready to hold their leaders accountable. We don't have. Dr. Jambo has demonstrated how citizens have resorted to selling their birthright through elections. Every elections, the citizens sell their sovereignty at 5,000 shillings, at 2,000. 2,000 is the common rate by the of bribery in rural districts. 2,000 per voter, 5,000, you are lucky 10,000 are those problematic people who you want to switch. So you find in Kampala, dear voters, and I know people in Kampala were telling me as there that they listen to this program. Dear voters in Kampala, 10,000 is not enough to end a normal day if you have a family of 2. It is not enough. Maybe for a single person who stays alone, then you can go and find maybe cheap meal of 5,000 and use the 5,000 for transport. But it's not enough.
There's no
So-
amount of money that should buy it.
No. I was telling them there was. I'm weighing.
She's building.
So if they were in Kampala, this expensive voter who demands for 10,000, in Kampala this money cannot finish a day. And you sell your sovereignty for a ranch, for a simple ranch. It's not even, because a normal ranch in Kampala, a good basic ranch is now to about 20,000.
25.
So you sell yourself cheap. In common language, these are 4 Rolexes. For your sovereign right, 2 eggs rolled in a chapati 4 times. And you, yes, because they must know. For those who sell your vote at 2,000, it's just 2 eggs rolled in a chapati. Those who sell yourself,
thin chapati,
yes,
not even
not
thick.
good. Because a good Rolex is 3,000.
Yes.
So those who sell, so
I
this is
did
the
know
value.
that you know the price of
No.
Rolex.
But I thought I'm not in the middle class.
But the Rolex I know is 1,000, so you must really be up there. You see? Yeah, so she's up there. Yeah.
Goes for a certain price.
So dear citizens, you've reduced
There
your
is a
sovereign
super
right
duper.
to a Forex, to a Rolex, 1 Rolex, good Rolex, and you give somebody a vote. How cheap can you be? The second condition to exist are independent institutions that protect the fundamental rights and freedoms of the people, that protect the rights of citizens, and also ensure that the leaders are held accountable, like the IG's office, the courts of law, the Electoral Commission, the Human Rights Commission. They need to function well and independently. The third issue is free and fair credible elections. It's the season we are in. Do we have confidence that the Electoral Commission and whatever they are doing, that first of all they are free and independent and competent, 2, that they are organizing a credible election that will properly quantify the choice of Ugandans as to who should lead them at several issues. The third issue, the last issue is competent leaders. And I know that debate we've been having over the 3 days on X mainly, after the release of flag bearers. Of course, we debated this after NRM primaries and how it was dominated by man and violence. And that one is a given 40 years, NRM, Honorable Banyenzaki, your party can only claim a continued hold on power using man and violence. So that one, we put it aside. Now we are watching the opposition. And I don't know how many opposition parties have released the list of their flag bearers. But recently,
permanent panelist of NRM.
which pora, Major, which
So
pora?
don't put me into that position, please.
Okay. But you are a member of NRM.
Nationalist.
Okay.
Nationalist.
Okay, but associated.
Ugandan.
You have
associated-
are you a party card holder? Do you hold a party card?
No comment. No comment.
Okay.
No comment.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
disclaimer is clear.
All right.
Ugandan who believes in good leadership.
Okay. So then when we were debating the controversy surrounding NUP or flag bearers, and most of the vigilante supporters of NUP in Uganda think that parliament doesn't matter. They forget that the roles of an MP is legislation, oversight, accountability, and appropriation. Those are the key functions of an MP. And MPs are national leaders, except they come through a particular constituency. But they are national leaders. So most of the arguments were that this one has not worked for the people. For us, we want service delivery from an MP. You know, and then I was challenging some of them. You know, Uganda and Kampala is assumed to be the cream of Uganda. But the ignorance of Uganda voters is really appalling. With all due respect, is really appalling. If you go to the dimensions, you might find that the rural districts, you Kampala, Uganda people, the rural districts are doing far better than you. Most of these rural districts understand who qualifies to be an MP as compared to Uganda. It's really disappointing. I rest my case.
Thank you. Let me chat. Because I also like how you've touched about how you've touched on the topic, the campaign realities now, as we juxtapose this with the promises of the manifesto. You touched on the reality of what we saw Bobby Wine go through, diverting his campaign routes and what that means essentially.
40 kilometers.
Exactly. And now the issue of also money or commercialization of politics, and how people actually make choices and decisions.
Let me make a comment on this money business of voters. I think don't call these people, don't call them stupid.
I didn't use that word.
They are not fools. They are not ignorant. They know what they want. But on the people, like say candidates presented to them, they don't see the candidate they want. So they end up tasking those so-called candidates to pay their nuisance value. So these voters go for money not because that they don't know what they want, but the price is the nuisance value. And I can assure you on that. I have in my constituency of Rwanda County West, currently there is a contestation. In the last primaries, there was a contestation of who has more money. And even the candidate say, I have more money, I'm more richer than you, I have increased the cost of your vote rights and what. And people say, okay, bring that kind of money that you have. And it is, as I speak now, in Kabale, or Rwanda and Greater Kabale, it's one of the most commercialized constituency. And what that is because of the construct of the leaders that are contesting for those positions. And this one brings me to the how our society has been constructed, the narrative. And and that one also brings me back to the other question of leadership. If, for example, what you are talking, Sarah, if our president was using that language, don't sell your sovereign right. Don't please. You are not equivalent to a Rolex. You are not equivalent to 10,000. But if you don't have a leader who spearheads that kind of campaign and civic education to the population, and then instead you have a leader who will be there to promote it, like how it was being promoted in my constituency, the citizens now start, their credibility, their moral credibility of questioning, it degrades and over a period of time, it becomes that kind of society that we are talking about now. And that's why if you say for 40 years, that has been the narrative. So the social structure, the political social structures we speak now, is they behave as if they are not informed because they have been made to believe so. If you look, for example, at our youth today, the current generation that we have, the youth, it's about money, 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 money. But if you look at the youth then of our leader, 1972, the youth that Obote constructed, those are the Mutebires, those are the Rugundas, those are Kahindo Tafires. This is even Museveni that we are talking about. The Chirunda Chibenjinja, David Dandisaris, those are the youth, the ideology. So if you are going to have now the current youth, the ideology is about Ndirawa, Mfunirawa, and you are a leader
They
that
want
is
the party to dance.
and going to the stage and dance naked, and you construct that kind of youth mentorship. You have drawn and for you, yet for you, you know, then the society is going to the drain, and that is what's happening today. And for me, what I think is that I think what will deliver Uganda is not this politics, it is a revolution.
How should it happen? We go back to the bush.
You see,
But you've cut all the trees.
That is
Where are
detail.
you
No,
going?
let's
you
see
see,
why
it's not the revolution is not about the bush. It's not about hiding under the trees and the fences and what. You get?
And throwing stones.
The revolution is already happening, like for example, in Nepal.
In Nepal.
It happened in Nepal. It almost happened in Kenya. It is still
Okay.
so this kind of the revolution that's going to deliver this Uganda will be an open revolution, and it will happen on the streets. I don't want to be quoted as a prophet of doom, but it will happen on the streets. This kind of the use that we have, I used to be, this kind of use that we have, don't think they don't know. They know. One time, that mist that is on their eyes is going to be wiped off. And the day it will be wiped off, you will see that revolution being delivered. It has happened. It is happening in Burkina Faso. Isn't it the same thing? It happened in Egypt. It has happened in many countries. So this talk that you are having now, the voters, what informing the voters now, the social structure, the narrative has been, it is not going to be the same. It will not remain the same. The Muntu you are talking about, if you listen to Muntu, that is his message. And the Muntu believes that one day it will happen. And I believe in him.
You almost talked like him.
I wish I would.
Thank you. Joseph, let's move to you. We're now looking at the campaign realities vis-a-vis the promises on the paper that the various candidates are actually selling to Ugandans.
And before he comes in, even the Otafire that we are talking about, if you listen to Otafire, that is the language.
Yeah.
And that is who they were. That is who they were when they delivered. When they delivered this country in 1986.
There was serious use.
You may contest that one, but you see, these are the serious use. These are the Muntus, Kazoras, Arondas, who left university and went to fight bad governance. But this bad governance that they were fighting.
So they claimed,
Don't
yes.
you worry. I praised it in the
You're a good man.
1970.
You're a good man.
Joseph, over to you.
You were trying to add to the question, weren't you?
Yeah. So, no, I just want you to juxtapose the vision on the paper versus the reality that we see playing out on the ground, and how ultimately this also contributes to the outcome of the election. You've heard about we see brutality. Well, we haven't gotten there. It's just very early days, but we already see the police being already exceeding their powers. Don't take this road, divert here, and so on. The question of money, we still remember the primaries, the NRM primaries just a few weeks ago. And so many other issues, of course, that crop up. Some we've seen before, maybe others we haven't seen and we are yet to see. But how will this, of course, play out and eventually shape the outcome of the vote?
All I can pray is that there's never again in this country a repeat of 2021. And I suggest that if there's anybody who's seeking to attempt to present and subject Ugandans to the criminality that NRA subjected this country to in 2021, I think Ugandans, particularly young Ugandans, should take very seriously heed of what Henry is saying. Now, I think it's important that we recognize that 40 is a long time. But that said, in terms of the so-called programs, they're merely froth, and particularly froth coming from NRA. Interestingly, Judith, I want to credit myself. Can you imagine? And that is important when you talk about quality of leadership, without detail and context of what you're referring to. It's very important at all stages, across all political divides. And I could see where part of your pain is going, and I don't know whether we're going to be discussing some of those ones. Where recently you see whether it's in primaries or now the stage of national party leadership, political organizations play with the question of leadership as if we are pockets of sweets to be prepared for export, not knowing that the citizens who are actually being nurtured and people who are asking to take these particular roles have got a burden of responsibility, whether in the National Assembly or possibly at district levels, but in this case, national. So it's extremely important, the kind of guys we come up with. And so when people play around with it, you wonder whether they genuinely know what some of us know. And of course,
no, maybe they are telling us that they are not ready for leadership.
It is sad because some of us have seen this country slightly earlier. We've seen the trajectory and we've experienced these lives, including Nepal. Strangely enough, for the record, I advised and thrice drafted a letter. I'm going to be very deliberate. Drafted a letter on behalf of a Nepalese activist to hand over, including teaching him how to hand over the letter to the British Prime Minister's office those days. But guess what? I'm still struggling. And then for them, they're already in. But for the disclaimer, I don't know where this person is.
I was actually curious.
As of now.
Part of the recent...
Indeed. And number two, that person's letter was basically like mine, like Mr. Museveni knew. I campaigned against this NRA diplomatically and politically and legally. Oh, I did 100%. So it was purely that. There was nothing else. When I look back, so I went to Amolatar. I campaigned about the Namasale to Amolata to Dokolo Road several times. I campaigned about the fish and fisheries things there many times, and the poverty thing there many times. Interestingly, Henry, during the Dokolo by-elections, which was now my third time coincidentally going there, I have some kind of interest there, purely family. I spent 2 days in Dokolo. So the evening before, together with Aguti, who eventually won the by-elections, we were on radio. The list of the things that I refer to, I'm not qualifying to myself. That's why I'm saying some of these debates are important. 3 days later, Mr. Museveni came and listed them like this. Now, a local politician, in fact, an FDC politician in Dokolo, later told me that, oh, Mr. Chen, you're doing this thing, and Museveni came, because he came to campaign for their candidates 3 days later. So some of these things work. But the reason is, the point is, Museveni is repeating the very same things. Amolata, the livelihood there is terrible. The road network there is terrible. Amongst the districts without tarmac road. Dr. Ojiambo was talking about extensions of road. I've told you a program before that Tororo district, now divided into 4. Tororo district, now divided into 4, has had no new completed tarmac road in the last 40 years. Now, we are talking qualitative economics, and, Henry was coming from a particular angle. So if you really look at it from that angle, then we see, really, I called it fraud. Uganda is being taken for granted like this. So instead of answering you directly, let me turn it around to what my colleagues are saying. I think we should be discussing these frothy programs of political organizations, but we can't blame the ones coming, minus the one of NRA, which is basically a song. So these guys are going to show that, well, they can also dance around the places. I think we need to go back to the citizens and ask the citizens to be much more active. I think you guys are quite right that we should focus on people who are undecided, to look at political leaders to vote for, but also to look at political parties and organizations to vote for. Interesting, you talk about my brother Gregory Muntu, with whom I was on a program. And one of my submissions then was that we should be focusing on ideas rather than personalities. But of course, at the end of the day, the peak of it is leadership. So really, what is it that then you really, really truly represent? So it's important. I think this is the time for Ugandans to genuinely critique these political parties and organizations and leaders. But I think the guys who really should be put on the cross is NRA. That the more you actually scrutinize them, the more you'll be finding that the Museveni has told about the same roads 20 times. And ask him. Nagongera Road was on program. My Nagongera Road, Sarah, was on program as part of the 10-year program, 81 to 91, to have been tarmac Nagongera to Busolwe Road, in 1989. So I'm told in 1990, Museveni went to Nagongera, I think it was his first or second visit. And he said the road would, no, I think 89, same year. Then he said the road would be done in 1990. To date, in fact, between Tororo and Nagongera, there's a bridge which has collapsed. The bridge that collapsed when I met Helen Kagina, a fantastic lady. In her meeting was when one of the directors told her that, the bridge thing has stopped, part of what Dr. Ojiambo was talking about. So the poor woman didn't actually know that this program was stopped. And it is such a major political program that had compelled Mr. Museveni, then some of the ministers from those areas, and Helen Kagina to meet. This is what we've got. Now, are we discussing manifestos of political parties and organizations that are functioning in a functioning nation state? No. Maybe we should be invoking anger in the citizen, meaning awareness in the citizen, to know that they're being shortchanged, so that they take this thing seriously. And so therefore that when political leaders and these guys are coming around your spaces, make sure that you push more of demand rather than dancing and songing, as Tito and Basilio Kelu would say. I don't know who talked about, and I think Henry talked about examples that if Mr. Museveni was to say that, look, don't take people's money, don't steal. Interestingly, you remind me, in 1980, Obote actually said that they may give you salt and soap, but vote with your conscience. I remember that. Vote with your conscience. But by and large, that is leadership from the top. So naturally, some of these swaying things will always be there. And I think I was telling another program, and I want to make sure that it's not repeats, that I have been around countries, all of us have been around countries, including here in Africa. You go and you meet members of parliament, and they even fear putting you in their car because they think that might be seen to be that they're trying to favor you. The nearest I've met ministers and others is you visit them in Westminster, and they pay for the meal at the parliamentary thing. Beyond that, no. So, guys, how we translate this into the reality to put these guys on the spot, I don't know. But I think, unfortunately, Mr. Museveni has been campaigning for the last 5 years, which starts from the beginning to the end. I think credit to his secretariat, the comrade witches have been doing these things. All these other things we've been seeing, they're preparing themselves. So the alternative governments, meaning the democratic opposition, ought to work extremely hard. And although you guys were pinpointing candidates, for us in UPC, we are still mourning, and I'm very, very furious about it. I didn't want to talk about the fact that I am not on that ballot, thanks again to the NRMS and to their systems. And it was also deliberate to make sure that Ugandans denied the bold, massive program of would-be UPC government. My view is that maybe the democratic opposition, we've reached and people have started campaigning, and there is insufficient conversation about joint or coordinated working together. And maybe my plea to these guys is that regardless of whether or not you're pushing your own agenda for your own votes, I think they should emerge a message, and Sarah should agree with me here, that the big political players, NUP, FDC, and ANT, should be seen to be having slightly much more coordinated campaign. From the tone of where it is at the moment, I don't see it happening. Number two, particularly because of the manner in which my brother Norbert Mao presented the coalition of the willing versus the others, it is quite clearly the case that, well, it's a divided house, and I think the battle lines have been drawn, and almost certainly we're escorting Mr. Museveni. But how the democratic opposition can consolidate to undermine the lies of NRA and sink the numbers to below 50%, I don't know. I hope we're able to do that.
Well, thank you.
Just one piece of information to
Yeah.
my brother here. Because of mistrust in the opposition and that pronouncement by Honorable Mao, you find that we have 5 parties versus the 3 that he called chaotic. The PFF, NUP, and the ANT. And many people regard these 3 as the opposition. And regard, of course, the UPC story gets lost with Akena.
His personalities. UPC is here. UPC is here with the Ochieno. Yes.
The Akena faction that has been in bed with the regime. I don't know whether they are still there or whether he got out of the bed or whether the blanket is torn. I don't know where it is. Yeah, but you know the Norbert Mao, the chief of Democratic Party himself, said they are in bed, and then he mentioned the others. So I think that is the coalition of 5 versus 3 really. That doesn't give Ugandans a chance to have a united opposition, but also to underscore the fact that the best fighting chance for the opposition, or best fighting opportunity, lies in unity for the opposition.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Ojiambo. I think I'll give you each a minute to conclude. Was that your conclusion?
No.
Can
1
you go
minute.
like this?
No, yeah, we'll start with you. 1 minute.
Yeah,
each.
me, I think it's good that we are in this election time because it is better to go for ballot than to go for bullets. For some of us, we really feel that we can keep here, and we hope for the best. And we request the candidates to listen to what the people are saying. The people may come chanting, but look at them carefully and propagate your manifestos to their voices, and let the voters also listen to these things. We should not fear to go and vote. Let's go and vote a candidate of our choice.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, but for me, my call is to the leaders and the political parties. A multi-party dispensation is expected to improve the quality of leaders. Many of Ugandans who want change disagree with some of the leaders of NRM in terms of quality and competence. Most of them known, most of them people feel they don't deserve to be where they are. But also these change-seeking Ugandans do not expect the opposition to lower the quality further beyond where NRM has taken it. So if there is any opposition party which thinks that they can vulgarize leadership because NRM does the same after all for some posts, then these parties have no reason to oppose NRM. If they believe in bad quality leaders, let them join NRM. But Ugandans who want change expect better quality leaders.
Thank you. Banyenzaki.
Well, I think for me, we are where we are because the civic space has been suffocated. Had not the civic space been suffocated, the civil society organization would have actively engaged the population to teach them on what the kind of leaders they desire. But the moment the civil society organization and the civic space is suffocated or disseminated, we are going to have uninformed voters. And the moment the civil society organization and the civic space is suffocated or disseminated, we are going to have uninformed voters. And the moment the civil society organization and the civic space is suffocated or disseminated, we are going to have uninformed voters. And the moment the civil society organization and the civic space is suffocated or disseminated, we are going to have uninformed because they're uninformed in the sense that they are not informed of what actually they want in a leader. And this is very dangerous. And Sarah here has been talking about how civic education to this politicking has been muzzled. And I think this is not positive. And the kind of Uganda we want, we would want to have the citizens to vote the leaders who are credible, leaders who are who have the moral values, that the kind of moral values that we have been talking about. And this kind of now, because we are talking about 40 years of NRM government, actually when you're talking about, it is not even 40 years of NRM government, it is 40 years of Museveni leadership. It is a whole generation. So Uganda needs to be, the Ugandans and the government or the leadership needs to open the space. As President Museveni, the age clock works on him and us and many more. I think we're looking for the divine intervention, that these right things are done in the right way. But as we speak now, because when you see what all these other parties are trying to advocate for, they are trying to educate the citizens. That is having to have that space, narrow space of 3 months to educate the civilians. But even that, those 3 months are so constrained that they cannot deliver the message. So the kind of election we are going in, where my friend there, Doctor, is talking about, it's good voting, but this kind of voting, if we continue this as a nation, I don't know where we shall be going.
Thank you. Doesn't sound very optimistic, but well,
Yeah, just that, I know it's a conclusion, but I just want to say that it's very sad that UPC doesn't have a voice formally and an opportunity for a program to table. But the disclaimer, though, is that although in this case, this time around, the Electoral Commission intervened, and quite rightly, but sadly for us as a party, UPC had previously had 2 opportunities to be able to do so, and it never presented a candidate for different reasons, part of what Sarah is talking about. I just want to ask the people that while we don't have a presidential candidate, we're going to have members of parliament, not as many spaces, and local councillors in different states, so people should be able to look at us because we are the political part of the future. But as far as this coming election is concerned, people should know that people fought, people campaigned, and people have sacrificed to defend this country. And the only way going forward is going to be competitive multi-party politics in this country and on this continent. So people must engage, but people must make sure that they engage outside the violence. And for people who are actually agents of the state, they should know that whatever they do, these things will catch up with them. We really want to have a free, fair, and open and democratic elections, whatever the outcomes.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much to you all, Mr. Joseph Ochieno, Honorable Henry Banyenzaki, Dr. Sarah Bireete, and you, Dr. Robert Ojiambo. My name is Judith Atim. Thank you very much for being with us, and thank you to all of you for your insights on this important discussion on the Manifesto promises versus campaign realities. Of course, it is clear that the responsibility of accountability lies not just with the leaders, but also with you, the electorate, and that it's equally important to demand better and set high standards for yourself. So, well, pay attention to the campaign conversations, what the different candidates are saying, and make the right decision when the time comes. I'm Judith Atim, and this is the Citizens Chat Show. Thank you very much. Until next time.